I'm Nick Schillingford coming to you from the Urban Cabin Studios in South Minneapolis with this interview. On Socialist News and Views, we let folks introduce themselves. Do you want to just tell people who you are?
Sure, no problem. So, hello, everyone, and thank you for having me on the program. I appreciate you reaching out to share your platform. I think it's always so important that we help lift one another up, right? Share our platforms. And
Absolutely.
like, I don't believe in being selfish, and neither do you, because I'm here. So, thank you. So, I'm Monique Cullars Doty. I'm a co founder of Black Lives Matter Minnesota and Black Lives Matter Twin Cities Metro. I am the aunt of Marcus Golden, who was murdered by St. Paul police officers Jeremy Dorspike and Dan Peck in 2015. So after a long, many years of just fighting, right, helping other families and whatnot, finally, thanks to some really good people, I was able to get the truth out. Everything was a lie. And so one of the reasons I started doing the work that I do is because people need support. And I understand that firsthand how much the support it means to other, it meant to me. And I just wanted to pay that forward. So that's the reason why I do the work that I do. And I also want the system to change and everything's connected. So that's me, like in a little snapshot.
Absolutely, super important. And so we have the Good Trouble Lives On event coming right up here. It's a National Day of Action, and I believe that from what I saw, Black Lives Matter Minnesota has signed on to that as a endorser of that action. Can you talk about what the Good Trouble Lives On events will be,
Yes, so
and talk about that?
happily, I'm happy to say that Black Lives Matter Minnesota, as well as Racial Justice Networks, we are helping organize it. So we've gone a step
Nice.
above endorsing, and we are co-hosting the event. And I want to give a special thanks out to the original organizers of these large mass protests, which was Hands Off and No Kings. And I spoke at both of those, but they reached out and they said, "Hey, this is John Lewis. Does BLM have anything planned?" I said, "Well, no, let's work together and do something." So we've got a great day of getting into more trouble, more
Yeah.
good trouble ahead. And so that's the AFL-CIO Women's March Minnesota, 5051, Indivisible Twin Cities, Racial Justice Network, and Black Lives Matter Minnesota. So it's been a great collaboration, and it has been wonderful to work with all of them.
So this is like an ongoing National Day of Action coming off of the No Kings, and we had the Women's
Hands
March,
off.
another Hands Off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is an ongoing process of coming out and saying no to the Trump administration and their power grab and all the stuff that they're doing. Yeah, I
Right.
saw in the
All of it.
I saw it's good. There's a sometimes there's not really a clear set of demands, so it's good to see ending the crackdown on civil rights. Stop the dangerous policies for immigrant, trans, and other Black and Brown folks in America. Stop slashing programs like Medicare and all this stuff. And so, there is this kind of like platform there. I know some people say, there has been some people who say, we keep coming out, we keep doing these protests, we keep showing up. There's some people, they say stuff like, because we say we're going out to put pressure on these politicians to do the right thing. They say, oh, the only thing you're putting pressure on is the grass, standing out in front of the Capitol or whatever. What keeps you going? What are your thoughts around this whole idea of like continuing to get out there with these large protests and why it's so important?
Think about the repercussions if we do nothing.
Right.
It will get worse. If there is no pushback, if there is nothing to counter the narratives that are being pushed from Trump's administration, if we're not calling out the impact of these actions, such as the terrible loss of life and drowning in Texas, because the people who should have been calling the weather alerts and doing all that are no longer in position. So people weren't aware. These things are happening on so many levels that we have to stand up. We have to speak about it. So when we're speaking about it, we're informing other people who may not know. When we're out in the street in mass numbers, people have to take note and notice. And particularly, we're seeing huge crowds coming out in red states.
Yep.
So we've seen people who have been Trump supporters saying, hey, he lied.
Mm,
This isn't what we voted for. And I feel like if they had paid attention, they knew what they were voting for. They know the man's a liar.
mm,
Why would they believe him? We were trying to, everybody was trying to sound the alarm. Some people didn't listen. So it had to hit them, hit close to home. The consequences had to land on their doorstep pretty much for some people to wake up and realize that, hey, there's a problem here. And even, we'll say, the Proud Boys seem to
mm,
be having a little riff with the president
mhm,
now. So they're like, hey, well, that's not what we signed up for either, getting into another war in the Middle East. So
mm.
there's a lot going on. There's a lot happening. And I was going to say something that like Mel Reeves talked about one time. He said, when have you ever seen change without protest?
Mm.
Significant, real change without protest.
It's true.
And so I always think about that. Matter of fact, so you knew Mel, right?
Yeah, I knew Mel. Yeah,
Okay. I'm just gonna put this on camera. Like Mel, I just miss
exactly. This is good. Yep, yep.
we fight, we win, right? So we have to keep fighting.
I'm glad
And
to
I
see
think
that
about
out there.
Mel.
Yeah, at the events. Yeah.
Yes, and I miss Mel. Sometimes we get
Oh,
like more of those printed and bring them out. And I think actually I think I'm gonna have another like a big one printed out, and we'll bring it out to the protest next Thursday. So miss Mel dearly. But anyhow, in the spirit of Mel Reeves, right? When we fight, we win.
exactly.
So we have to fight. And one of the ways that we fight is being in the streets and talking about it and getting people out. And fighting is also, we see when ICE raids are happening,
Mm,
right? We saw, especially in New York, when ICE came to arrest some Haitians and they
hmm.
fought back,
Yep.
you know? So we have to get in good trouble. We have to fight back. And unfortunately, there are consequences. There can be repercussions. And that's just what history has shown. John Lewis was arrested, what was it, maybe like 60, I don't remember, a huge number, like
Right.
65 times or something. John Lewis was arrested, right? Because he put himself and his body on the line. He was also beaten by state troopers, and he spent like 2 days in a hospital
Hmm.
standing on what he believes. And he did that really until he got sick and died. I mean, he was taking a rest as a senior citizen. So in good trouble. And
Yep.
we're lifting up him and really remembering John Lewis and good trouble. And that's what the day will be. It is definitely a day for good trouble. Every day is a day for good trouble. And these times, which I've not seen in my lifetime, some things here are unprecedented
Yep.
in America. So we need a lot more good trouble, and we need everybody to get in some good trouble.
Yeah, and you mentioned Mel Reeves, and of course we were talking about connecting struggles, connecting movements. Mel was like a big connector, connecting different struggles, connecting different movements, and that's something that's really like missing. You can feel that immediately, like when Mel's not around, that some of those connections are lost. Um, thinking back, Mel's been around, Mel's been doing stuff for a while. I know you introduce yourself, and you're often introduced as the aunt of Marcus Golden, who was killed by the St. Paul police in 2015. Was that when you started getting active, politically active, or were you? I get the impression that you might have been doing some things before that, because you seem like you know what's up.
So actually, when I was a girl, a small girl, we were marching just to make MLK Day a national holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Every year in the dead of winter, back when people got dressed up, even if you're just going to church. So in the dead of winter, wearing a little wool little girl dress coat, tights, and a skirt, walking in the cold,
Yep.
marching. We would meet at historic Pilgrim Baptist Church and march down to the Capitol. Um, so that's when I first actually was involved. And I don't even know like how I was led to show up and to do that.
Mm.
I know my mom was and dad, they were at work. I don't even
Right.
remember who brought me, but I was there and I did it. I don't remember the code. Like that's not what was significant.
Mm,
I remember being there. I remember the church and the people. We were marching like arm in arm. They had the adults and the kids. And really it was a training ground for all of us. But also my mother met with Martin Luther King in a secret meeting in the basement of a church in Gainesville, Florida, because it was illegal for Black people to meet,
mm,
period, unless it was church on Sunday. So they would have secret meetings. So my mom met with Martin Luther King, and I just felt like that was so significant. But also, I just grew up hearing the stories of injustice, the stories of my grandparents and great grandparents, the story of the ancestors as enslaved African people. That always, then maybe because I'm a Libra, like I need things to be
mm,
balanced and fair,
yep.
never has set well with me. It never has. So when the Black Lives Matter movement started, I was like, I'm getting involved. I want to get involved. But I really wasn't on Facebook. I did not know. I'd hear about something. I was like, how do I get connected? Like, how do I know that they're there? Where are they? And I would say that like I'm going out. I didn't even need anyone to go with me. I'm going to go out and be there. And then Marcus was murdered fairly early on in the Black Lives Matter movement starting because it was
Mm,
January of 2015.
right.
So I found them then, or they found me when Marcus was murdered, and I just showed up for everything. I showed up for BLM. I showed up for the Fight for 15 Now, which was happening then. I was showing up, protesting out at the airport with the in solidarity with the union out at the
Mm,
airport. Um, and I think his name was with Kip. He was
yep.
standing in solidarity. So Kip, yeah. So I was out there protesting with them for that. Just like I was just everywhere doing a lot. I joined the IWW, the GDC. We were doing great work. General Defense Committee, IWW, Industrial. I always get it wrong. Industrial Workers of the World.
You got
Yeah. So um, joining that group, some amazing revolutionaries in that group. It was so powerful. Um, then I would go to Mel. Mel had his groups on Sundays
it.
downtown
Mm,
at a coffee shop, and I would just go. I'm so glad for that time that I had with Mel, and he was just teaching. I'm like I was older than most of the people, familiar and knew a lot of what he was teaching, but just to be there to support. And down at that coffee shop on Hennepin, and I think 11th is where Mel Reeves founded Twin Cities Coalition for Justice
mm.
as well. So I was at that first founding meeting. I'm still a member, but I got so many irons in the fire right now. I
Yeah,
haven't
right, right.
been to a meeting, but I love TCC for J. Always shout out for the amazing work they're doing, working on community control of the police. I say we're doing, even though I'm kind of on
Mm,
the
mm.
sidelines, but
Sure, sure.
yeah, I won't let them take my membership.
Well, I really appreciate all the work you're doing. Is there anything else you want to say about the event or about anything else that's going on right now that people should be aware of?
So, well, the Good Trouble event, which is this Thursday, the 17th at 6 p.m., downtown Minneapolis at the Hennepin County Government Center.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing something like this is uncharted water,
Mm,
the way we're doing this, at least for me as an organizer. I have organized many protests. We haven't done this before. We're going to have a rally, which a lot of times we have a rally and then we go march. We're going to have a rally. We will continue to have a rally after the march leaves. Because we're talking about DEI.
mm.
And, you know, our group, we were the people who started the Target boycott, the National
Right.
Target boycott
Yep.
theory with Racial Justice Network, BLM, and Care Minnesota, which is Jailani, Nakima, and myself. So we started the National Target boycott, and it was DEI. And so that when I first saw that they were reversing their DEI, I was like, wait a minute, I have
Mm,
worked in HR and saw what it looked like when we had an HR director and then an HR VP who believed in DEI. When I saw the people who were working at this organization, what they looked like changed so much. It was actively reaching out and getting people from all walks of life, right?
mm.
All
Yep.
nationalities, all different like abilities, and the environment changed. And it was very intentional And as I had been in finance. So once I moved from finance over to HR and some of the trainings and what I was learning about DEI, also um, working with the African diaspora, which is a employee resource group, I knew like instantly that when Target did this, like the impact internally, even like inside the organization, but also their DEI was public facing.
Right.
In the statements that they made and the actions that they were going to take, the money that they were going to give, the support, reaching out to Black business owners. I was like, something really has to be done, because when you remove DEI from a workplace, you get situations like Donald Trump has at the White House with the unqualified political appointees that are in positions doing work that they have not raised their ability to meet the level of the demand of that position.
Right.
So you have incompetent people and they want to call, oh, you have a Black person in position. They want to also, it has to be a DEI hire. And I'm looking at like comments on
right.
on BLM, comments about people who, you've got these people who are like well qualified. They are attorneys, they're lawyers, calling them stupid. So DEI is important. We want to make sure that everybody has a chance to participate in American society, and your workplace. You should support the customers that support you in your workplace and in your business.
Yeah, I mean, they're beyond unqualified. They're not only are they unqualified, they're like actively trying to not see other like points of view. They're like blind to like reality, basically. Like they don't even like
absolutely
they can't even like experience real truth. So
right,
it's pretty bad.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous for so many people. Think about the children who won't get vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's so many things on every level. It's like America is imploding.
Well, I appreciate all that. Yeah, the one thing you were talking about how important it is to get out and, just think what would happen if we didn't get out and protest. And I went to the book talk for Ricardo Levins Morales' new book that just came out not too long ago, The Land Knows the Way.
I missed really that. Good.
You should check it out if you can, if you get a chance. And I just know, when I interviewed, when I interviewed him on the show before, but also at the book talk, he was just talking about how, like, if you give up that public space, how hard it is to get that back, because he was talking about that experience of like, if you give up that public space and the government or the right-wing powers are able to like take up that space, it's going to be even harder to get it back again. So just how important it is to like, to me, like protest is like the base level of what we need to be doing is at least like getting out there and being visible on the street so that people know that, Trump wants to say he has a mandate, but he definitely doesn't have a mandate. And there's plenty of people that voted for him that are sick of him already. So.
Right. And, something I want to say about this event coming up, like the work I do has always been right to connect the different movement, connect oppression on every hand, right? Against a capitalist government, right? Against imperialism, so there's people who just don't realize the source of their oppression, right? So some people, they want to point to the other person. That person will know you have to look at the bigger picture for society as well. So in here, like I've got, actually, I can't see my spreadsheet for the speakers, but we got some amazing speakers who have confirmed. We've got Michelle Gross, president of CUAPB.
Nice.
Just well known in the business ability realm nationally. We've got Sabri, in the genocide in Palestine, Free Palestine Coalition, and just some really good people. We've got, I believe, John Anthony Kyle. We're finalizing that. Will be there to sing because she's done some amazing, revolutionary songs. We've got a great variety. We try to be inclusive, and getting back to like the whole DEI thing. What I was saying, what we're doing. Everybody can't march, right? Everybody's not able to do that. And we want to be inclusive, and we want people who are dealing with, some type of physical limitation
Hmm.
to be seen. So
Yep.
we're going to continue to hold a rally, have speakers and performers at the government center when the march takes off. And we're going to keep going with programming for everyone who's there until the march comes back. Right. So we'll have some space in the front so people who they have accessibility issues, they can, they bring a chair if they want, or if they have a wheelchair, they can sit in front. We want everyone who's under attack, right?
Yep.
Those who are the most vulnerable amongst us to know that, hey, you have a place in the movement and we see you and we're going to make sure that you feel welcomed in that space. So this is what we're doing. And we know we have a lot of seniors who are coming out with the cuts to Medicaid and, raising the retirement age to 72. Who wants to work to their 72 to collect their full retirement?
Yep.
People be popping like flies. I mean, and it's the working class that affects, right? Because if you're
Hmm.
wealthy, you may not even have to work at all if you're wealthy.
Exactly.
So when are we supposed to enjoy our life? So actually, I have two people from the GDC I'm reaching out to. And I actually have failed. I just realized I didn't send it to them yet. But they are so knowledgeable, and I love the way that they speak about how unions started,
Mm.
right? And the fight that, like the heyday market massacre and things that people really aren't taught and known about. We have someone speaking, on union
Oh, hold on.
rights as well, but largely immigrants fighting to create the unions. And yeah,
Can
you
you
want to
just
say
say,
something?
yeah, it got a little, I don't know if it's going to pick it up or not, but it cut out a little bit. So you said that talking about where their unions came from, and who's going to be speaking?
I'm hoping, I don't want to say
Oh,
their
sure.
names
No,
too, but um,
you were talking
some
about the immigrant rights and where the unions came from. You want to just like say that again?
okay, right. So like I actually didn't know that history, and it was largely the European immigrants who had started the unions, because they were working 12-hour days every day of the week,
Right.
7 days a week. So the unions, what they fought for was, 8 days. I'm sorry, 8 hours of work, 8 hours with family, 8 hours of sleep.
Yep.
And that's how we came up with this formula, and then
Yep.
be able to get the weekends off. Also, there's also, like I know, like out in New York, also there were unions that were formed specifically though to keep the newly freed enslaved Africans out because they were
Mm.
skilled labor.
Right.
So there's that negative side of it, and there has been a struggle with with unions in terms of like black union
Right.
members, white union members not standing in support with the black union members.
Right.
That's all in history, right? You had the was that the General Motors boycott, the
Right.
Detroit was that General Motors, yeah, boycott. So they had like what is it, wildcat strike. The blacks voted and they went on strike without the white employees, right?
Right.
But there's a lot of history there, right? So unions have had some good things and it has been difficult for others. But man, if we have the solidarity to realize that, hey, my color is not your enemy. My
Mm.
color is not keeping you down.
Hmm.
It is the system, it's capitalism. And now you see the oligarchs, you see the wealthiest of the wealthiest. Why are they not standing up and saying, we don't need tax breaks?
Yep.
But they're there standing next to Donald Trump, watching what is happening, rather than calling him out and say, we need to pay more taxes. Actually, we can pay our taxes. And look what's happening. They will spend money. I think Minneapolis spent like $750,000, was it, to remove a homeless encampment rather than to provide shelter?
Right. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Right,
It's
it's
ridiculous.
ridiculous. And they're making homelessness illegal, arresting people in some cities for being on the street. Right, it's too much. It's crazy. There is enough to go around if the wealthy and if corporations would pay the taxes that they should pay. Right. Remember Ronald
Hmm.
Reagan?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Ronald Reagan, his policies just created such a wealth gap. That was a huge bonus for the wealthy when he was in office. Now we've got Donald Trump doing this again.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well, thank you for what you're doing, Monique.
And thank you for what you're doing by, you know, having this program and, you know, giving people a platform to speak and getting the you know, the messages out. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching the interview.